My name is Tom Egham. I'm the founding director and president of Hope for Kids International. This is our 46th year in existence, so it's really been special. We are now on the site of Nyafumba, which is in Tororo district in Uganda, right on the Kenyan border. This is one of our projects, and we're really delighted that Weber State University, they've taught me Weber State, we are great, is that right? And we're grateful for their engineering department to be here with us and partaking in all that we're doing here. We've got a community center on this site. It's 10 acres. We have a preschool, which is now functioning fully. We've started a grade school. We call it primary school here. We've done P1 and P2. Behind me is all the way up to P7. We've built those buildings already. And we add a grade every year. And this is a school of excellence. It's sponsored by Terry Lee, a friend of ours in the U.S. And it's the legacy he's leaving for his family, and his children have been here, and now his grandchildren. And many of them have been here, and numbers of times. So this is really of high value to me to see this kind of thing.
Hi, I'm Angie Simon, Vice President of International Development for Hope for Kids International. We're here in Tororo, Uganda. People call me Nikesa here. That's my African name. I've been coming for the last 12 years to reach out to these children that are in the greatest need. Here in Tororo, we've got over 22,000 orphans. Over 3,000 are double orphans. They've lost both their mother and their father, primarily to HIV/AIDS. And Uganda is tied for the youngest population on the planet. Over 50% of the people are younger than 18 years old. This area has some of the greatest number of orphans in anywhere we serve in Uganda. These kids have already lived a life of suffering. Not only have they lost both of their parents, many of them are forced to live on the street, subject to abuse. They don't even have the practical provisions like clean, safe water, nutritious food, a quality education, basic health care, or a shelter, or even someone to tell them that they love them, they're cared for, and that God loves them.
We first saw this village about 6 years ago. At that time, it had nothing that you're going to see in any of the stories or any of the pictures that you have. It was just a piece of land. The water source was terrible. When we went down there, we could actually see a dead goat in the water. It was muddy, it was murky, it was mosquitoes, it had all sorts of terrible things. And we knew at that time immediately we needed to put in a water well that would bring clean, safe water, and that would immediately help with the health and safety. But we had a vision that was larger than just the water. We wanted to be a part of this community.
I think the Lee Family Foundation has caught the vision of a very interesting development approach here in the country of Uganda, where they're taking children, the youngest age of children, and bringing in the best teachers that they can find in Uganda and starting off the primary age children. Then they'll move them to the next grade and go out in the community and find those children that definitely have a need, whether they've lost a parent due to disease or whatever factor that has made them completely destitute. And so that group of students will come in, and then they'll graduate up, and then they'll go out and bring other students in. So it's really an interesting approach to not just concentrating on one student, but trying to raise an entire village. And so this concept that Lee Family Foundation and Hope for Kids International is pursuing is very admirable, and I'm interested in finding out the success rate of these young students that are going to go through what they call the Lee Family Preparatory.
The vision that was laid out by my father, Terry, is coming to fruition, and to see 150 kids here in school now, out of someday it will be 300. We're adding 30 kids a year in each grade. So we're currently through P2, which is probably equivalent to like third grade in the States. So we're at P2 and we'll be up to P7 before we're done. At that time we'll have 300 kids. We've built a soccer field, we have a basketball court. More importantly, they have somewhere to exercise, have fun, play with each other, and it's just something I wish everyone could experience.
It has been a great moment. I'm so happy personally as me, and also representing the staff of Nyafumba. We are really so happy for this that Live family has done to us, and in conjunction with the Hope for Kids. You have done great work here in this place of Nyafumba, and you have done so great work in our lives. May the Lord God bless you. So I'm seeing this place has grown and grown, and the children are very happy for what is happening, what you have done to them.
You know, many people ask us sometime, there's so much need here in the U.S. Why do you have to go around the world to Africa to help those children when there's so much need here? And we say, if you are serving somewhere in the U.S., great. But our heart is for the extreme poverty, for these children that don't have the basics. They don't have access to social services. And so we bring people, nearly 250 people each year, to projects like this around the world that we're committed to helping the different communities to inspire people that they can make a difference. If it's through $1 a day through our child sponsorship program, if it's providing clean water by sponsoring a well, you can make a difference. You can do something. And if these trips inspire you to go home and serve your local community, work in your soup kitchen, volunteer more at church, help your elderly neighbor, then we feel like we've done our job.
Sponsorship, we recruit children from homes where parents cannot be able to help these children with their health, to provide the basic needs, to take them to school. But Hope for Kids International helps these children. They are able to go to school with the school requirements. They have shoes, they have school uniforms. So when children are in school, they concentrate. They don't have pressure, they don't have stress that where will I get the school fees? Where will I get the school uniform? Children concentrate, and at the end of the day, they are able to graduate. They become doctors, others teachers, others lawyers, which is benefiting them, benefiting others, and every person in the whole world. And this is important in the way that Hope for Kids usually bring teams in the country twice or thrice a year, where the team members pick on these children. They look at them and they get touched. They feel so good when they provide something for these children to take care of them, to make sure they're at school, to make sure when they get sick, they are able to get medical services. So these teams do a great job as far as supporting these children is concerned.
These kids are bright, they're funny, they're very intelligent. They just need somebody to stand in the gap, as they say here in Uganda. Stand in the gap, help them achieve their goals and dreams, to become the children that God intended them to be. And we do all of this because of the love of Jesus. You know, when we say, "Unto you, Jesus," when we serve a child a nutritious meal, or give a cup of cold water in His name, it's like we're saying, "Unto you, Jesus," serving the least of these.
You know, the very first week I started, one of our directors, and I was brand new, so I wasn't sharing any stories right away, gave a story about a child that we had helped, and he was now in university, and he was just writing a letter of gratitude, and it came from his heart about how lucky and how blessed he felt that he was now in university. His letter explained that he was nothing and now he's something. And that very initial experience at Hope for Kids made me realize that this was the place for me, that I am making a difference every day.
And you move that, and then you see I'm making it go down in there. It has to go down in there.
We've had the opportunity to work on building a food storage unit for Feed My Starving Children, and that's been a wonderful experience, not only to build it, but to think of the impact that will have on many of the children here. While we've been building the food storage unit, I've had the chance to get to know many of the workers. The general contractor, Patrick, has hired some really wonderful people. And one that I worked with in particular, his name was Okiru Moses, and he's a roofer. And so we spent a lot of time on the roof just getting to know one another, and he has such a calm and pleasant demeanor, and it really taught me just that he gives me so much attention when I need help with something, and he really wants me to learn from him. And he teaches me in a non-demeaning way, and I really have appreciated learning from him, and I hope to be able to incorporate some of his calm demeanor, and to also, when I engage with other people and talk with them, that I really can show them respect and let them know that I care about them.
Going into this, I had no clue that we were going to be working by so many amazing people. Like, the people that I met here, just the workers, are so cool. We talk all day, we learn so much about them, and it's crazy how much you can really get to know someone in just one day, and how they don't really have anything, but they are so grateful for the life that they live, and they will tell you everything. They will tell you about their grandma, their grandpas, they'll tell you about all their kids, their wives, everything like that. It's just really cool.
I thought it was cool when you're working with them. Like, when you're working at home with someone, you get to know someone, you start joking around with people and start teasing them for like the little things they do. And I thought it was really cool how here you start talking to someone and then you work with them by your side all day and you can start teasing them and then they tease you still, and like everybody just kind of teases each other. Like it's almost the same as being at home, where you just get to tease each other a little bit and have a lot of fun while working.
I've been really impressed with how hard they work. I almost expected, well, I don't even know if I expected it, but I guess I would have tied the lack of tools and the lack of training and the lack of knowledge with the lack of effort and the lack of doing things right. And it's been the complete opposite. Like, even though they're so short on the tools that they have, or the easiness of doing a project, they're still just smart in how they do everything, and they make sure that it's perfect. It's not like we're just going to do it halfway because we don't have all the tools. We're not just going to makeshift something and just hope that it works because we don't have the correct things to build.
Here today we're working on a perimeter fence. The perimeter fence that we're putting in here is surrounding these two health clinics that they've built here on the site at the Lee Preparatory Academy. And in order for these health clinics to be able to be in operation, the Ministry of Health here in Uganda is requiring a perimeter fence. The perimeter fence will exist in the instance that there needs to be a quarantine or kind of a barrier between the healthy and the sick. Everything that we're doing here is being done the proper way within local code. We have a whole team, as you can see behind me, of local Ugandan workers guiding every direction. They're really demonstrating for our students resourcefulness and how to use what you have in order to accomplish the same thing.
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah. Or should I go through this?
No, please. Let's go.
see the widow is very happy. She knows they're putting up her house. She's expressing her joy.
Hello, I'm Clephas, and we are building a house for a widow. We are mudding it using mortar of mud. This widow has lost the husband and has just a few grandchildren here, but we are trying to fix it up, something good for her. We are from Hope for Kids, and we are making sure that she has a shelter where to put up.
Yeah, I'm Robert, and working with Hope for Kids, we together with this great team that came to work together with us, and we are making up this house for this widow. The widow is Agnes, and he has had a bad experience. He had 9 children, but 7 of them passed away, and right now there are only 2 children who are living, 1 son and 1 daughter. So we came in to help as a team, and we are doing this great work for her as we do it for God. So we are so grateful, and we thank everybody who has contributed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, before I came here, I was trying really hard not to have any expectations because I didn't want to put any pressure on myself or on the people here that I would meet. And if I had expectations, it has gone way above and beyond what I thought it would be. The people are so kind and warm and welcoming. The highlight that has been the biggest thing for me is learning about these people and how they live. And what I found is that they live wholeheartedly, that they move forward with no inhibitions, that they love with everything that they have, they give with everything that they have, they work with everything that they have, and I have loved watching them. That has been the highlight of my trip.
Okay, as you can see, what we have here is we have a mud hut for a widow. Her mud hut is behind us here, and it's falling apart because of the termites and because of the rain. So the rain's hitting the mud and washing it out, and the corner posts are being eaten by termites. So it's only a matter of time until it falls over. So we're building her a hut that's going to last in her family for generations. So we did these blocks that you see right here. Were purchased blocks, and they have been baked in an oven so that they will last longer. They're very hard and brittle. As you can see on the ground, there's little pieces that break off, and the water won't erode those as fast as a mud brick that hasn't been baked. So this, the way that we put the blocks together was with mud. As you can see over here in the corner, they have a pit where they dig the dirt that's very sandy, and so that mixes well with water and creates a mortar that we can put these blocks together. On the inside of this house, this is a little bit bigger than a traditional one. It's got 3 bedrooms, or 3 rooms, not bedrooms. There's a large sitting area, and then there are 2 small sleeping areas for her and her grandkids that she watches over. What's left to do here is we've got the walls all the way to the top. You can see we've got some windows in the front door. So we've just got the roof to put on still. And around here it's very common to have a thatched roof. But we're going to put on a tin roof, again for longevity. So we're going to put some trusses on here as well as a tin roof.
No, it's ready. They're like falling. Yeah.
The metal goes right, and then hammer a nail in there, so like the curve that comes that way will flatten out. Wow. It's so sick. This side, I'm not even close. Yeah, my ladder's too close. And do it, 4th quarter. I gotta move out of that.
give us also? Yes, I will. Yes. I need. All right. Mike and Joel.
Welcome to the library. This one's our temporary library in Nyafumba until we build the new one. And essentially everything in here is new. Or new to the school. All of these books on the shelves have been donated from friends and family in Utah and local schools. And all of the furniture in here was sourced from a local carpenter in Nyafumba, as well as a lot of our work that we've done in here. We've brought in teachers to help us fill the shelves, and we went to local tailors to help us construct this legacy piece with the fabric that we had left over from the acoustic banners, which helped muffle the sound in here because it was so echoey on the tin roof. So prior to the donations of books, the school was really lacking on many English books, which they teach here, and especially higher level books. So we have started from very early baby books, My First Words, all the way up to chapter books and whole classroom sets of books that teachers can have the children study and test them on and read as a whole classroom in this library together. And it will really advance where this school is trying to send the students off to secondary schools here. They will be a little more prepared. This school has never had a library before, and so as we've been setting up, the students will peek their heads in. Some students come and sit down and just sit quietly and watch it all unfold. I think the colors have been very intriguing to them. And the new books, we've had many of our classmates from Weber State sitting down and reading books to whole groups of 20, 30 children, and they're just cheering and reading along, and it's been very invigorating to watch these children excited to learn in this way.
We are building a water fountain.
Yeah, we're making kind of a base around the water fountain, and then also some steps so that the kids can get up to it.
And the adults will be on this side.
Yeah. And we're becoming brick mason experts. Or trying to. And this is our friend here. He's an expert brick cutter. Right, my man?
What's your name? This one.
My name?
Yeah.
It's John.
John.
John? I'm Katie.
You are Katie?
Katie.
Katie? It's okay. Now I had that name. It's very clean. Yeah. It is so good, nice. Very good.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Katie. I'm a student at Weber State University. I have had the opportunity to come to Uganda to help work at the lovely town of Nyafumba to help make some improvements and add to the community for the children. Here we're working on a water fountain for the children to make sure that they have clean water to get to. It's kind of an interesting thing to them. They're not used to this type of water fountain. They're used to a spigot to drink out of. So this would be more of an attraction to help have them drink water and stay hydrated in this weather. Basically, we just laid brick around here and brick and mortar, and then they covered it with cement, and right now they're working on painting it, so that it's not quite finished, but it is usable. Some of the children have used them and they are really excited about it. They're getting in lines walking up the stairs, so we made sure we had enough, it was accessible for all of the children. Yeah, it's just been a great experience here to help these children and see smiles on their faces and know that we're actually making a difference in other people's lives across the country. So it's been wonderful.
So here in Uganda, we're a registered NGO organization, Hope for Kids International, and over the last 10 years, we've been able to drill 582 boreholes. And while we celebrate all of those boreholes for these remote villages in need, we want to make sure that they're open and fully functioning. These people here in Uganda have really suffered for generations without safe water. They say since the world was formed, we've never tasted safe water in our village. And when you think about the ways that people suffer from not having access to safe water, what really comes to mind is dehydration from not having hardly any water, or dysentery from drinking dirty water. But really how these people suffer is so much greater. It's like an iceberg. So the iceberg, the ice sticking out is dehydration, dysentery, but underneath are many ways that are hidden why these people suffer. We say here water is life because it affects every aspect of their life. If children, mainly young girls, have the task to trek for water each and every day for their families. They have to walk 4 to 6 kilometers one way. And that's not to a water fountain, but to a dirty, contaminated pond that they share with animals. In the dry season, when those small ponds evaporate, they have to trek even greater distances. Oftentimes we hear tragic stories how these young girls are raped in the bushes from predators waiting for them. Many of these areas are very bushy. There's a lot of grass, and so there's poisonous snakes. We were even at a well dedication with one of our ministry partners. His niece just died a few days back because she was bitten by a poisonous snake when she was collecting water. Women, when they trek long distances, they're gone all day. When they come back, their husbands believe that maybe they stepped out on them and they beat them up. And just knowing this, that they have to trek the next day and do it all over again.
A blessing to this village. And may this village be a blessing to them. Father, we pray for every program that let it to go according to your will. And may your will be done. In Jesus' name, believe and pray. Amen.
Hello. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Good.
So at this moment,
we just want to demonstrate there is a lady here who has what we call a jerrycan, a container. And let her show us how they used to fetch this water from the original water source.
That's over 40 pounds.
So ideally, as you can see, physically, the color of water, it's really very contaminated. And due to its turbidity, very many kids would die because of the waterborne diseases. This is a slope where every field from the upper side, especially when it's raining, it pours inside here. And it contaminates the water source even the more, which is a great, great threat to the humanity. So really we are so, so grateful that we are here to celebrate your intervention of bringing us a safe water source. And I would say, may the Almighty God bless you abundantly. So at this time, let me allow the team leader, if she has something to tell us.
This one?
You. Yeah.
Well, as Hillary explained, you know, this is an example of their daily source of water. This is actually a pretty good one. Many places we go, there's not even this amount of water. So as he said, you know, when the rains come, they wash all the contaminants, all the feces, all the everything into the water source. You can see that it's a slope here. Oftentimes, pregnant ladies, they slip and fall and lose the baby. I mean, that's just another level of what it's like when they don't have access to clean water. And as we heard earlier this morning, they do not know that this water is killing them.
After we are affected by these contaminants, the treatment of the waterborne disease in Africa here, with the lady who has the zero earning per month, this makes our kids and all the people who use this water to die innocently because they cannot afford the medication. On top of that, just from here to the next health center is very, very far, of which we normally lose people just on the way, just because they don't have transport. Yeah, I was in US and somebody asked me a question and I was like, oh, since I came in US here, I've never seen anybody just like as a pedestrian just walking along the road, unless maybe if you want just like to do the physical fitness. So in Africa here, really finding a transport in a village is so difficult, and that's the reason as why we have lost very many kids on the way when they are being rushed to the hospital because of the waterborne diseases. So your intervention in this program of provision of safe water source is a huge blessing to us. God bless you so much.
All right, let's go back.
It is a wonderful time that we are going to officially hand over this borehole to this village. I want to take this honor to welcome all our donors who have come here
majo tundo ka
to offset this function.
bedo monyo joma kere kod miyo na
adieri wafuete tekawakawa sangala imichi
and Lord right now I want to commit this borehole into your hands.
amasame gimejia jengi tingin
Lord, I pray for your divine protection over this borehole.
akwayo rageng perini yinai
Lord,
konteme
may you remember Hope for Kids International.
jume poyi kitipa
Remember even the donors of King of Glory.
reme misilwanyi akadokorijo jojo
Aria, 3, Ade, we go.
Rocking it like a baby. Rocking it like a baby.
This is the first time that our Weber State students has been involved in this very large organization that is really impacting a very broad region. Just today we were in a small village where there was a well that had been put in. It had been operating for 2 years, and we visited the initial water hole where they were gathering really unhygienic type of water for themselves, not only to bathe in but to eat or to cook with and to drink from. And I'm sure that the amount of sickness and diseases had really swept through the village because of the unclean water source. And now that they have put a borehole in a few hundred yards away, and with that borehole it's allowed them to have clean water, that they're able to educate the villagers to treat the well in such a way that this is going to be more healthy, it's going to provide a longer life, that their children won't be sick as often. And so it's a very good approach to getting the villagers clean water, and then they have a water committee that's there that oversees the maintenance of the borehole, the water well, and making sure that all are taken care of.
You think something as simple as drilling a borehole, you know, what could that possibly do? But it revolutionizes the way that they live. They don't have to travel long distances to get water. They don't have to worry about being assaulted on the way to get water. They're not worried about snakes or diseases, things that we don't even think about back at home. We went to a well dedication while we were here, and you saw the women literally get on their knees and thank us for the water, for the borehole. I didn't even drill the borehole, and our group didn't even contribute. We were just there to celebrate with them. But you could really see their gratitude, and obviously I don't like people kneeling to me. That's not the kind of status that I want to uphold. But for me, I could see how appreciative that they were. I wish that everyone who has clean water could experience that and really understand just how life-changing it is for these people.
when you come here, the African hospital is not like the American hospital. First of all, the patients, they have to carry food, they have to carry firewood, and secondly, the government, the health ministry budget is very limited, and normally there is no medicines. Because you think about a person who is living on less than $2, even reaching here is a problem to come and access medication. And this is a district referral hospital. So people come from as far as Mbale, in the borders of Busia, 20, 30, 40 miles to reach here to access treatment. So this is the great work that we have been doing, and if it was not your support and the support of partners like Hope for Kids, we wouldn't be able to do what we are doing. So feel free as you are moving, attach on a person, when you are praying for him, it gives him hope. Because when they look at a Muzungu, sometimes they think that these people are far away from us. We are not worthy to be touched because they know that you are privileged, you can access anything. For them, they may not be, all that worthy. So touching a person, praying for her, encouraging her that you will get better, it will just, make the person, gain the confidence that indeed I'm loved by God.
It's like the Lord is above. I love seeing this chicken. Easter. How are you? You're so good. I'm okay. I'm with some visitors. They have come to see our patients. Yeah. And we love them so much. Yes, we love you so much with the love of Christ. Bless you. Yeah. Sorry. This one is done. That's next room. You can go to the next room. God bless you.
So when we as a group went to the hospital to go and give items, soap and sugar and toilet paper, we also visited with the patients that were in the hospital, and there's one lady who was sitting on a bed by herself, and she was very malnutrition, and she didn't really look around, she didn't acknowledge us, and so I went over to her and was trying to talk to her and ask her name, and she couldn't. She just kind of stared at me, and I couldn't tell if she didn't understand what I was saying. That's what I thought at first, but then another woman came up and said that she was too weak, that she couldn't even talk. She couldn't even open her mouth. She was too weak, and she explained to us that some church people brought her into the hospital. So that's what really touched me, is that she didn't even have family that was around her. She didn't have anyone to show her love or compassion or care to bring her to the hospital or help her. She was just picked up by a church group and brought to the hospital, and then she's just left at the hospital by herself, and no one knew anything about her. And she was explaining that she was hungry, but she didn't have any food. The hospital doesn't provide any food. When patients come in, they provide their own blankets and bedding and food. And since she didn't have anyone or anything, she didn't have it. And so we pulled out a bar. Me and another girl in the group pulled out a Cliff Bar, and we put it in her hand and gave it to her, but she just kind of held on to it, and she didn't even know what to do. She she was so weak that she couldn't even put her hands together to open the package.
So at the hospital you have to travel there, which is usually like a couple miles. You have to bring your own food. If you don't have food, you don't get fed there. So a lot of the families have to bring you food. The families, when you walk in, they're just sitting on the ground there. There's no place for them to stay. And you have to bring your own water. They also said you have to bring your own like book to log like when you had what drug and when you had what medicine. They don't provide that, the records there for them either. And that was really heartbreaking because at home we have multiple nurses, you know, multiple people like trying to make you feel comfortable, but it felt like they were just there for the medicine and that was it. And it was hard to wrap my head around it. Like I had to keep telling myself like they're here on their own. Like it seemed like kind of a lonely place to be. It didn't have a lot of hope, like good and positive environment. It just seemed like sad, and I didn't feel like it was a good environment for healing. Like it wasn't clean. You usually think of hospitals and think very clean, and you wear masks. You know the doctors wear gloves, but it was like dark. It was dirty. They're just what you had was what you brought. So one blanket, and if you were cold, you just were cold, or there wasn't food being brought to them. They were actually in need of things. Like we brought them a bar of soap, we brought them a thing of sugar, and we brought them the things that they actually needed.
What's your name?
You know, you cannot come to Uganda without going to Smile Africa. It was founded by Pastor Ruth Kahawa. I say that she is the Mother Teresa of Africa. This lady has a heart for the greatest in need. She started her ministry through food. She would serve meals throughout the town to people suffering from HIV/AIDS. You know, if you don't have any proper nutrition, you know, you can't absorb the ARVs, the antiretroviral drugs that's offered by the government. So she's always had this heart for ministry, but it began by serving food. Through the years, her ministry has grown. There is a tribe in Chaworo called the Karamanjung, The Karamojong are known as third-class cattle thieves. They're rejected by society, kind of known as like a third-class citizen, and the parents make the children forage through the streets for trash, for food that they bring home. In 2008, Pastor Ruth read a story in the newspaper about a 10-year-old girl named Maria. Maria took the piece of meat from the mouth of a dead rat, and she ate it, and she died a violent death. It was poison. And from there, Pastor Ruth knew that she needed to respond, so she started feeding kids. And we came alongside her and started supporting her in her ministry. And together we set up a feeding program where we started feeding 420 street kids every single day. These kids were wild. They had scabies, distended stomachs, and they were just the least of these. A couple years later, the mayor came to the compound and experienced the Karamojong. They were all sitting in a line. They were praying before they were served, singing songs, helping their young little brother or sister with their small plate of food, and just waited to be served. All their scabies were gone. Their distended stomachs were gone. They had previously been going to the bathroom throughout the compound because their bodies were too weak to digest the little bit of food that they had before. So when the mayor came on and came onto the property and he saw this incredible transformation, he said, "These are not the Karamojong. Who are these kids?" And then he saw the power of Pastor Ruth's ministry. So over 10 years, we've been coming alongside Pastor Ruth, serving the Karamojong. Now these young little kids that were once foraging for food throughout the streets, pickpocketing people, are now leading worship in their own church. So it's just a powerful, powerful ministry. Our team just went there the other day to see these kids. Now her ministry is expanded to help widows, enable them in small business. They make crafts, they can earn a living, and they can support themselves. They have the dignity of paying for their own kids' school fees. She also has a baby home that another partner built for her. She and the authorities here in Uganda, they contact Pastor Ruth when they have an abandoned baby. Unfortunately, here you hear many stories of suffering, and sometimes people's lives are filled with such sorrow and misery that they feel that if they discarded their baby or set their hut on fire and made their baby perish, that it would be better for them to experience than to experience a lifetime of suffering. So with the help of the authorities, Child Protective Services, and Pastor Ruth, they've rescued many babies. Some are HIV positive. Many suffer from malnutrition, and they really nurse them back to health and resettle them in perhaps some of their own nuclear family or extended family or with another loving family, so they can grow up to be wonderful children.
Ruth's focus is on the children and the women that have no one else, they call them the untouchables. Nobody else wants to help them because they think that they'll get sick, or they think that they might be possessed by the devil or things like that. But she takes them in and she feeds them and gives them love and support to make them able to function in society. Pastor Ruth has ordered a shipping crate of the most nutrient-dense food she could find, and she shares the shipping crate with another humanitarian effort, but she mixes it with Ugandan rice so it can feed more people. But that food is saving children's life from malnutrition and starvation, because it has all of the nutrients that they need.
Knowing that they didn't have family, it was basically Smile Africa's an orphanage, and so they were just there and they just kind of had each other. That kind of tugged at the heartstrings a little bit, knowing that they didn't go home at night to a family. And it's almost, you can tell that they're not getting all the love and attention because there's only so many staff to the kids, and so they're just, I mean, the staff love them to death, and you could totally feel the connection that they had with the women working there, but obviously they wouldn't get the same connection that they would in a family, and so that was sad for me to go see, but at the same time they were so happy. Like, they were so welcoming and wanted to be played with as well, and the little toddlers, that was fun to play with the little kids. They just wanted to be held. They didn't even want to play. They just wanted to be held and be loved on. And we did have bubbles, and we were blowing bubbles and stuff, and they just had the funnest time with something so simple as bubbles. Like, they'd never seen them before, and they just thought it was the greatest thing. And that was just a fun day to just spend the whole day just caring and loving for all the kids.
Yeah, I was so impressed with Smile Africa and the organization itself. Pastor Ruth is literally a saint and so warm and so giving, and you can just tell how much she loves these kids and the widows that are there that she helps as well. But everything that has to happen to be able to feed 400 children every day for every meal of the day, that just blew my mind, that she organizes all of that and she has a team that helps her do that. The vision of Smile Africa is inspiring. It's out of this world. I definitely couldn't do that.
Years ago, right before our teams came, Pastor Ruth read a story about some boys that were young boys that were kind of rescued, some street kids. She went to the authorities, and when she was there, a lady had brought in a baby who was 1 day old. This baby was discarded in a trash heap that wild pigs and dogs would go to forage for food. And the mom had just discarded the baby there. This lady had prayed to take the boys that were there that Pastor Ruth read about in the paper, and Pastor Ruth prayed that she could take this little baby girl. She brought her home and named her Esther. And this little baby, a young lady now, she's 8, is so filled with life and joy and love. And to think that this precious young girl's life was almost cut short because somebody had thrown her away. One of Pastor Ruth's workers, Catherine, was tasked with the responsibility of being Esther's nanny. She looks after Esther every day while Pastor Ruth is administering her organization. And Catherine was also discarded as a baby. She was thrown in a pit latrine, and a neighbor heard her crying and rescued her from this pit latrine. And I love this story because here another small girl was discarded, but her purpose in life God had all along for her was to take care and show the love to another young little girl who was also discarded. Catherine said, you know, my mother abandoned me, my father rejected me, my uncle abused me, but my Father in heaven never abandoned me. And I love that incredible amount of faith that these beautiful people of Uganda have. You know, for us Westerners, we may look at them as not having anything, really, of any physical means, but they're so rich in the spirit. They have so much to offer us. So that day, Catherine taught me a big lesson in gratefulness.
We love so much worshiping God because through this worship, God has opened doors. We have divine connection like Hope for Kids International. Every time Hope for Kids International brings the teams here, we are always privileged to have the team members fellowship with us at Seaside Life Family Church. And we dance for God. We praise the Lord with all our hands up. We use all our energy to give God the glory, because we know it's not that we are so special, but it's the grace of God that brings all the wonderful people like Hope for Kids International to us. May the Almighty God bless you so much.
My expectation was to come here and like serve people and then like leave, but I feel like a part of the community. Like the first time we got here, they just were here like singing to us and just like welcoming us, and like from the minute I stepped off the bus, like I felt a part of here. Like this feels like home, and I felt like that at church. I just feel like they call us brothers and sisters. Like I really feel like that I'm a part of Uganda and part of Nyafumba, and that they genuinely love me, and so then my heart was able to genuinely love them back. So I guess that's like the one thing I wasn't expecting, just to like work side by side with them and like become them, and not just we are here, you are there. We're together and we're one.
So their faith here is incredible. They love God, and everyone here believes Him, and it really brings the whole community together on a whole nother level. Sundays are very spiritual, and everyone really gets together and dances and sings, and it's just such an amazing place. I kind of wish America stood out more like this, but this community is just incredible. I could tell you stories all about it, but you'd have to actually come here to believe it. One of the things that have really stood out to me on this trip has been gratitude. These people coming to Uganda, I thought it'd be similar to some of the other trips that I've been on, but the people of Uganda have been so grateful for everything we have done. They've just shown so many ways of how much gratitude they have for us, like giving us a goat, a chicken, a duck, just simple things that you'd think wouldn't be a big deal in America, but here that's probably one of the only things that they do have. And that's something that I would like to take home with me, because sometimes people think that if they don't have something that they can't give it, but it doesn't have to be material. You can give, a hug or a gesture or a high five or something. It doesn't have to be materialistic.
It's wonderful to come serve in these less developed countries with Weber State students, because as a teacher, and that's really who I am, that's the fabric of my whole being. As a teacher, I want my students to become excellent global citizens. I want them not to just read about other countries in a textbook or virtually look at their smartphone and images of Uganda. I want them to come in country, look at the people, dance with the people, feel the sweat of the people as they're hugging each other, be able to taste the food and to smell the branches of the trees that the people in the villages were waving as we were welcomed into the village. So it's moments like that when the student is here interacting with the Ugandans and with the young students at this preparatory academy, that I think they see beyond themselves, that our world that we live in suddenly fades away. And we see that the people here in Uganda have the same wishes and desires and wants and needs as we do. It helps me, and I hope I instill this in my students, to go abroad and to interact with the world that we're all a part of, so that we can be reminded again and again and again what is truly important, what is truly to value, and that is each other. And I think that's what the students are discovering here, that these Ugandan people, they're invested in their family, that they are happy with their little community, they help each other, they know each other, and that's a really powerful lesson that we can take away from our interaction here with these beautiful Ugandan people.